Law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12 Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
From my cold, dead hands.
Charlton Heston's famous declaration captures a truly American value, the overarching desire to protect our freedoms. But gun confiscation is exactly what happened during the state of emergency following Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil. If martial law were enacted here at home, like depicted in the movie The Siege, easing public fears and quelling dissent would be critical. And that's exactly what the Clergy Response Team, as it's called, helped accomplish in New Orleans.
Jeff, the primary thing that we say to anybody is let's cooperate and get this thing over with, and then we'll settle the differences once the crisis is over.
Such clergy response teams would walk a tightrope between the needs of the government versus the wishes of the public.
In a lot of cases, these clergy would already be known in the neighborhoods in which they're helping to defuse that situation.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, you know, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect the suspension of their rights might last. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
Naomi, being a historian and knowing about World War II, Hitler's favorite line was Romans 13. So go ahead and comment. We'll go to some more calls.
I mean, this is a tough conversation because you're bringing me information that is so truly shocking.
It's 1,000 times worse, Naomi. It's so bad I can't even explain it all.
All right.
CIA runs every major city. FEMA camps are built. Most police chiefs are bought off and paid for. It's total mafia takeover.
Well, let me just take it step by step. I did want to say when I express kind of unease at how many people are telling me data that needs to be followed up on, but are reluctant to give me their names. The most recent one was in California. A gentleman came up to me and said, I was hired to do IT work at one of these camps. It's near Bakersfield. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I've seen with my own eyes, he said, the train cars with shackles on the floor, and they're painted white, and I've witnessed this.
By the way, I've seen them. I've seen them, but go ahead.
So I said, because I'm a reporter, and I can't just circulate, unattributed comments, a rumor, I said, will you go on the record, or can I get another source to back you up? And he said, that he's a dual citizen, or he's an immigrant, and he is scared to come forward. But he's a very credible. He seemed like a very sincere, concerned citizen. And my gut intuition was that he wasn't. That he was telling me about something that genuinely had disturbed and upset him. And he said they're massive. That what he saw was massive. So obviously, this is not reassuring to me.
Well, we have the 2002 purchase order for 3 1 million man camps. I mean, we have the federal. They even put bids out. I mean, it's not.
Oh, okay. I'll look at. Of course, I'll examine these documents. I think you've got to be patient with me, Alex, because the way I'm trained, I look at the documents, source the documents, try to fit it into the bigger picture, test it, and
look into the civilian inmate labor camp program conducted from 1986 secretly until 1997 when it was declassified. Civilian inmate labor camp program, a secret archipelago of Army-run camps. And they already have Americans in them. We'll explain behind the scenes right now. Okay, what they did is they had Army bases, never in the public knowledge, that would then take federal prisoners to be overseen by the Army. There were 12 camps, Atterbury, Anniston, others. And then they expanded those to 24 when it was declassified in 97. And now they take regular prisoners, but that's setting the precedent, and they admit it's a laboratory to train the military in the control of work brigades.
Good God, we've seen those before. Yeah. I hear you. So what I've got to tell you, Alex, is that another citizen came up to me in San Francisco, and he said, and he gave me his card, and he said he can't go on the record yet because he's on parole, but he said he was a federal prisoner, and he said there are work camps and there are work brigades, and that he was in them, and he said he had been a Democratic fundraiser, and then the FBI came, and he was arrested. That people are being arrested with family members.
No, yeah, we have the work camps. The work camps are there.
Okay, so this is, of course, is a shock to me because I'm just living in, the rest of the landscape with the rest of the landscape information stream. And
look at two things. They tried to pass a law in 2003 in Oregon. Senator Menace almost got it passed, no pun intended, and they almost passed a law 4 years ago in Rhode Island. It was in the Providence Journal and in NBC. It said if you criticize the government, you will be arrested and you'll be given life in prison and a work brigade. Both bills said work brigades. You can pull those up.
Good Lord. But I don't understand why so many public servants are going along with, this is like multiple sources, multiple levels of people carrying water.
You know about the Princeton and Stanford research where they noticed that if an authority figure told graduate psychology students to kill someone with an electric shock, and they believed it was real, 90+% committed the murder?
Absolutely. The Zimbardo experiments, I believe you're referring to.
Yeah, well, there's several,
yes. They were at Princeton. But,
I believe it was Princeton.
So I am familiar with that, but why would so many Congress people be supportive of this kind of legislation?
Because they know how real it is. They all know. I talked to congressmen on air and privately, and they go, absolutely, Alex, you're absolutely right. I had...
They know, so why would they want to collude with it?
They're scared. They understand how serious this is. They understand that the U.S. military and the global elites are hardcore, and they've decided to join with it. They've decided to, that a new age is upon us, and they're going to join with Sauron, basically.
Well, then what... realistically, in spite of our brave words of a few minutes ago.
Naomi, you don't have the 11th point in your book, and that's called they try to take the guns. And if 1% of 150 million gun owners fights back, that's 1,500,000 armed resistors against this tyranny. And we're going to come back right now. We got Lindsey Williams with his oil being cut in half prediction coming true. Joining us in about 10 minutes. I want to hold Naomi 5 over into the next hour if she can do it. If not, she'll be gone in 5. I just brought up to her the Second Amendment, the last line of defense. As a person breaking the left-right paradigm, Naomi, I know a lot of, quote, liberals that have been out the last 2 years now understanding why we need the Second Amendment. I'm not calling for violence, but if you're being taken in cattle cars to a FEMA facility, what do you do?
Yeah, I have to say, part of my education by many wonderful patriots I've met on this journey on the left and the right and beyond the left-right paradigm is that they've challenged my assumptions about the Second Amendment. I certainly was raised in a demographic that always thought that gun control was the most important way to keep people safe, and now I think it's not that I'm advocating violence ever. Of course I'm not. This should be a peaceful revolution using the rule of law, but I do understand, that in a closing society, as many people have noted, the regime will take away citizens' guns. And I do understand now that there are times in history when we have worse problems than gun violence, from gangs and so on, that a police state is a greater problem.
Is there a time for us to defend ourselves?
Well, you're putting me in a very challenging position. We have to defend ourselves in every lawful and appropriate way we can, with violence being the absolute.
But if Adolf Hitler was our president, it would be lawful in the organic law to resist him as the general staff did. But again, it's not a president here; it's the complex around him. Naomi, let me be clear: the enemy, the programmers, want us to fight back physically, so they have a pretext to engage us. I do not believe in offensive military asymmetrical strikes against them. But if they're rounding people up and taking them to FEMA camps, it is not a right. It is a duty in the Declaration of Independence to resist 110%. And I believe the American people, if we don't turn things around peacefully, we may do that. We have a chance. It is going to go to the next ballot box, which is the cartridge box, and it's going to be hell.
So there is a wonderful prosecutor, and I'm sure you've talked about her, Charlotte, I beg your pardon, a woman running for Attorney General in Vermont, Charlotte Dennett, and she has promised to prosecute and arrest George Bush and other high officials who've committed high crimes and misdemeanors. And Vincent Bugliosi is going to be her prosecutor.
Yeah, that is the key. That is the key, is to declare them criminals and illegitimate. I'm just saying, Naomi, a lot of us aren't going to run into pits and be shot in the back of the head. Nobody's taking my children. It's not happening. I'm not looking for a fight. But I'm asking the American people, if they try to take you to camps, resist them in the name of the Republic.
Well, and I'm asking the American people to rise up and use the rule of law first, because history shows that the real threat.
But should we go to death camps? Should we go to death camps? Should we go ahead and give in and go to death camps if they tell us this?
Well, of course we shouldn't go to death camps. I mean, when, there's a lot of models for, even my people who are so kind of, non-violent by instinct, there was resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto. Obviously self-defense is an important American value.